will see further.
In this chapter, we will talk about CRM databases. Precisely, we will see what is a database, the types of databases, the benefits of databases, and how databases will be analyzed in CRM.
What is a customer database? Customer database or customer warehouse is a list of customer names to which the marketer has added additional information in a systematic fashion. So additional information about purchase behavior, preferences, and so on. Database is also the heart of all CRM and interactive marketing strategies and activities, because based on the information, segmentation will be done and personalization can be done. So it's the key to developing strong customer relationships and to make customers loyal. And database technology, mainly so hardware and software to analyze the data, hardware to store the data, is important to track the data, to store the data, and to analyze customer transactions and actions. So what type of databases firms have or should use? First of all, they should have a customer database. They should have a prospect database for customer acquisition and an enhancement database in order to enhance the information in the customer database by supplementary information. Let's start with the customer database. So customer database contains data, customer data from active and inactive customers. So active customers who still purchase in the firm, and inactive customers, also called dormant customers, who have not purchased for a while. Customers might be defective, so they might not be anymore a customer, or they might be only inactive. So data from active and inactive customers, it contains above all basic contact information, the name, first name, family name, the address, zip code, telephone number, email address. On social media, WhatsApp, so all this information that can be used to contact the customer. The second type of information is demographic information. The age, so you should record not the age because it's a dynamic variable, you should record the birth date. Because with the birth date, you can always calculate the real age. You should record the gender, regional status, the education, so which type of diploma the person holds, the number of people in the households, are the children, again with the birthday, the personal income of the household. These information are traditional segmentation variables. So for example, with the marital status, this gives you an indication about the needs of the customer, of the household. So a single household has other needs than a married household. Clearly an idea about the needs of the household, the life cycle, because if you know that the household is composed of children and a couple, then there are needs that you might know through socio-demographical information. The education helps you to understand the level of sophistication of the household. Highly educated people in the household with master or PhD degrees, this is an indicator about that they might be interested in given types of products. So for example, software products or books. Whereas if you have low educated people, this gives you an indication that other types of products might fit. Service or product, it can be relevant to know the sexual orientation too, right? If you operate a dating platform, clearly this information is necessary. You have to pay attention. This thing, you cannot storage this sexual orientation because you have in France an organism called CNIL, C-N-I-L, which is called in French Commission Nationale de l'Informatique et de la Liberté. This cannot store, for example, information about ethnicity or race. Have not the right to storage political orientation and sexual orientation. The type of customer database information depends on the sector. So for a dating app, clearly you would storage other information than for a do-it-yourself firm or retailer or voice retailer. You have to consider the sector in which you are. Other countries does this type of organization like CNIL exist as well. Germany, the rules are very strict, so there are organizations. So I would say in all developed countries, you have these organizations. Countries like China or Thailand have other governments which are less oriented on digital freedom. In France and Germany and I think all European countries, we are very strict with this data storage. So firms cannot store whatever they want, and they have also to ask permission. This is also called permission marketing. So firms have to ask permission to their clients to start. Their clients.
Permission marketing allows consumers to choose whether or not to be subject to marketing. This choice can result in better engagement. For example, consumers are more likely to open an email marketing message if they double opt-in compared to a regular single opt-in. By targeting volunteers, permission marketing improves the odds that consumers pay more attention to the marketing message. Permission marketing thus encourages consumers to engage in a long-standing cooperative marketing.
For example, if you enroll into a loyalty program, you have to ask the customers if they agree with the storage of this information.
In this context, we have to explain opt-in and opt-out. Opt-in email is a term used when someone is not additionally added to an emailing list and is instead given the option to join the emailing list. Typically, this is some sort of mailing list, newsletter, or advertising. Opt-out emails do not ask for permission to send emails. These emails are typically criticized as unsolicited bulk emails, better known as spam.
This is, if you go to China, it does not exist. So in China, they store all this information. There's even quite actual situation with the coronavirus. They scan the faces, they scan the bodies, the temperature, and with the faces, with face recognition, they can identify the person who passed through a checkpoint. So, for example, if you go through a checkpoint at the airport or in a supermarket or in any other public location, your face will be scanned, you will be identified, the temperature is scanned, and if you have high temperature, you have directly either voluntarily go to a hospital, either if you don't want, police is coming. And this is another system. They storage everything, they don't have to ask for permission. And this information is also useful to calibrate algorithms. That is why it's like China are very advanced in terms of data mining and artificial intelligence, and they will probably become leading in the next 10 years because they don't have restrictive laws we have about data collection, data and data use artificial intelligence. Step is once you have created information about the demographics, you will start to collect transaction history. How the customer was acquired, for example, by newspaper coupons or by a television campaign or via Facebook, a social media, or via a newsletter. So this is important. Then you will storage all interactional transaction history. So that is the date of purchase in order to measure recency, then the purchase frequencies, so the number of times the customer is buying, the amount of purchases, so for how many money the customer bought, which kind of products, and so the product reference in order to understand better the preferences, the date of contact with clients, how do they react to sales promotions and advertising. This information enables you to calculate an indicator called RFM, which we will see in the chapter 4. Recency, frequency, monetary amount. It's an indicator of purchase activity, which I will explain deeper in chapter 4. What is important also, the reactions to promotions and ads. This can be directly measured through links. For example, a customer sees a banner on Google or on Facebook or social media. When he clicks through, then he can directly measure the reactivity in order to see to which type of ad or promotion the customer is sensitive and if he answers or not to this promotion. And so it's a supplementary information that helps you to better understand the customer. And finally, other relevant information such as product inquiries, and so all types of interactions with the firm collected, and so inquiries about products, referrals, reviews, Amazon, satisfaction, loyalty, and customer lifetime. How do companies collect those information? Demographic information is when customers enroll, for example, into a loyalty program. And when you enroll into loyalty programs, you have to fill out a lot of information, such as your name, address, contact data, you give your birthday, gender, marital status. So this is declarative data that is collected when opening an account. The e-commerce side of this information is collected when you create your account. So for example, if you want to buy something on Amazon, or if you want to, wherever you want to get something, forms require you to create your personal account. You have to give your name and contact information and a lot of supplementary information in order to create your account. If you take example of Google Play, you have your account, sometimes even with your credit card, because then you can directly pay. But for creating this account, this information is required to create the account. Concerning the transaction history, the information is collected once you interact. Whenever you show your loyalty card, every purchases are recorded, recency, frequency, amount of purchase, date of contact. When you buy online, this is collected when you buy. For example, at Amazon, when you buy, recency, frequency, amount of purchase, the articles of purchase are collected. The date of contact is collected. If you have reacted to sales promotions, all this information is then directly collected when realizing the transaction. Once your contact data is collected, a lot of information comes from the contact form to get basic contact information. You can get this information by sending newsletters if customers enroll. You can do also surveys with customers. You can send coupons in real newspapers, so customers fill out the names, send it back by postal mail, but you can also do now online coupons, for example, Groupon, electronic coupon. With cookies, naturally, when browsing on internet, you can get a lot of information. Pop-ups, for example, on Google with advertisements, and when you click in that, you might might be required to give some information. You can do outbounding phone calls, and you can get this information also with subscriptions. For example, when you enroll into Netflix, or when you enroll for a mobile phone or an internet subscription, you have to give this information. And finally, as I said, loyalty. We continue with the customer database, so data from customers, how they were acquired, how they have been active or inactive, what is the purchasing pattern, how much did they spend. This is the RFM rule, so recency, frequency, monetary amount. Why are they active or inactive? What are the signs of defections before they become inactive? So all this information can be done with transactional data. If you record transactional data, you see the recency and the frequency. So for example, if you see that the recency, that is the date since the last purchase, decreases, so this is an indicator that the customer is on the point to become inactive, that he won't purchase again. Or if you see that the purchase frequency decreases, this also is an indicator, if you look to the purchase pattern, that the customer might become inactive. So these are transactional indicators that show you that customer is on the point to either become inactive or to defect. That is, he might go to the competition. Then, if you see that, you might send a satisfaction survey in order to measure customer satisfaction. If you see that satisfaction decreases, this is again an indicator that the customer is to defect or not to buy again. That is why this information is important, because it gives you first an indicator. The higher the amount of purchase, the higher the frequency, the higher the recency, the better the customer will be, the higher will be also the customer lifetime. A customer with a high RFM score will be a top customer. Whereas a customer with a bad RFM score is a bad customer. And that is why this transactional data and purchase patterns helps you to detect customers who are on the point to defect. First question, how they were acquired. It is an interesting question because it gives you an indicator if the customer will be a good customer or not. This is an example of an attrition analysis in a newspaper. Attrition means loss of customers. It's like defection. Or perhaps you know also the term churn. Churn rate, attrition, defection is all the same. So it means loss of customers. So on this graph, you see different acquisition channels. So for example, you have physical prospection, telephone prospection, coupon, a voucher, and divorce means that the customer came on its own. You can see here is the defection over the time, over 42 months. So you can see in the beginning, all customers, 100% of the customers are active. And with the time, you see that some customers become defective. So they, in other words, they stopped subscription of the journal. And you can see the highest attrition rate or the lowest survival rate is the red curve. Those customers who were acquired by physical prospectors, people who came to the people and tried to convince them to take the job. The second less effective media is the telephone. Then you see the coupon. So the customers send back a coupon to enroll into the journal. And finally, those who came voluntarily after 42 months, so 4 years, they have the highest survival or probability to stay with the job. You can see that according to the media of acquisition, it's better to recruit customers who came free on their own, have higher survival probabilities than those who will force. That is why it's also an interesting information to see which media has been used to acquire the customers, because in this way you can then predict in your customer lifetime value model the survival probability or the attrition probability, and you can see then which are the best customers. And so the best customers are those who come on their own. The baddest customers are those who are recruited by telephone or physical acquisition. This is about the customer database. Information is demographic, basic contact information, and then transaction histories. When they buy, purchase date, purchase frequency, the purchase amount, the products bought, because this can help you to do recommendations. I do thus recommendations to buy other products. Geographical information. For example, if you take TripAdvisor, the example of a loyalty program for a hotel industry, it makes sense to also collect geographic data, where the customer went. The information which is also relevant for airlines to do personalized campaign management to suggest new destinations. And to that we can include also social media information, because now we have the information also what people say on social media, likes on social media, which brands do they like. All this information can now be analyzed with text mining. And this text mining is a very good mean to understand what customers say on blogs, on forums, on social media. Social media information, and finally, last but not least, IoT, Internet of Things, or smart connected objects. This information, for example, about heart frequencies, about our physical activity, and other connections we might have, for example, a smart home, is very important information about our well-being, about our physical health, called the quantified self. And this information is highly strategic because it can be used to offer a good product according to the health conditions. I give you an example. You know that somebody has not done enough sport, but he's doing a diet, or he has some weight problems. It makes sense to know that because then online service like Weight Watchers could become a physical coach, supervise the connected data coming from the IoT in order to make recommendations about physical activity or recommendations about dishes, meals that the customer should eat. And for example, if he has done a lot of sport, the application will give this information to Weight Watchers, and Weight Watcher would say, okay, today you might eat a steak. If you don't have done any sport, application would say, no, today you have to make diet because you did not do enough sport. You can see this information is also highly relevant, will be used more in the future. So to transaction history, you can include social media history, geographical location history, and IoT smart connected information.